Hey, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Halt shotgun, and how could I not after you've donated so nicely? Oh, time to increase my backlog tower. But we will get straight into it. So, you can get this shotgun from the Truth Enforcers Warbond, and it should be an easy acquire since it's on the first page. So, taking a look at the stats, we have a damage of 385, capacity of 16, recoil of 83, and a fire rate of 80, with light armor pen, medium armor pen, and round reload. Looking further into the stats, it has a horizontal recoil of 45, a vertical recoil of 120, sway of 2, ergonomics is at 65, 16 capacity, and a reload of 2. Oh, and there's absolutely no customization for this gun other than a few sights, with the best one being the iron sights, but look at that, it's at the end. Which is unfortunate, because this gun could really use a choke, but we'll take a look at that in a second. Because this video is sponsored by nobody, I lied.
Oh, but Gundam Boy!
Toxic Diver. You're supposed to be dead.
Oh, but Gundam Boy, this shotgun has light pen, which means it's useless. Which means I will always complain.
Hey, look, a funny meme.
Gundam Boy,
That's not foot. So let's go even further into the weapon stats and take a look at the weapon's damage. So taking a look at the Flechette rounds, we can see that its standard damage is at 35, and we can also see that it has 11 pellets for its spread. That's how it does its damage. 11 times 35, and you got the base of this gun's damage. And I'm only bringing this up because I got in an argument with someone who said that each pellet does 385 damage. No, it does not. And if 11 pellets seems pretty small to you, it's really not in comparison to the other guns, as Cookout's the only one with 20 pellets, whereas the Punisher has less pellets, but it definitely has more damage per pellet. But it's not the pellet amount that makes this Halt shotgun funky, it's actually its spread. And sometimes the spread pattern for the shotgun can be just as abysmal. And you don't typically use shotguns at extended ranges, but when you're this close and you miss, you kind of start to question. With the shotgun's blast being so wide, it almost feels like it has a duckbill muzzle, which can make the shotgun struggle at certain ranges if you're trying to aim for slimmer targets, especially if they're concealed by something like a turret. And now that we're done looking at the Flechette rounds, we can take a look at the stun rounds. For the gun's pellets, we can see that it has 20, but its damage goes down to 6, and its light pen. And the shotgun blast has a beautiful spread, and if it wasn't very clear before, this shotgun has a stun rounds, which stuns enemies. You can still damage them, but that 6 damage won't really do you too much in the end, but it makes it a great option for supporting teammates in heavy combat situations to allow them to dish all the damage while you hold them still, making this shotgun a very cooperative friendly weapon, unless you're the problem.
Betrayal.
I find that the Flechette rounds aren't as good for pushing positions, like the stun rounds, which allow you to actively lock down machine gun turrets or enemies that may be shooting at you, like on the bot front. So the right nut of the gun has stun rounds, and the left nut has all the Flechette rounds. Unlike the Punisher, where it has 16 shots, the Halt shotgun has to share those tubes, which means you only really have 8 shots of actual doing damage, and 8 shots of holding enemies still. And if you remember my last video where I realized you can fire and reload the shotgun at insane speeds, you don't really have to worry about running out of the ammo. But how does it fare on the Automaton battlefront? Well, if anything gets close to you, well, they're fucking dead. The Halt shotgun allows you to really control the pace of the battle, whether you're swapping between stun rounds or the Flechette rounds. Automaton troopers are typically no-brainers, you just point and click them, but if an enemy like a Devastator is a little far away from you, you'll have to spend a bit more rounds than usual to take down. In theory, you could one-shot a Devastator, but the problem is when you get point blank, you could still miss most of your shots. This requires that every pellet, hits the target, which is easier said than done, because even at this range, I still somehow hit the top of his bag. But this thing is a absolute counter against things like berserkers from rushing you down, as you can just stun lock the whole group and take them down as you please. And the stun rounds can also be used on the toaster back here, so you can hold them in place and finish them off. Also, mad respect to the one Thief soldier that survived the entire Eradicate. That was awesome. Now, the shotgun on the Automaton front will do perfectly fine as long as you're within the weapon's kill range for the Flechette round, as the kill range for this thing really gets crippled by the weapon's wide duckbill spread, as you can be taking down enemies left and right, but one Automaton 20 meters away will completely dodge a shot. To avoid getting overrun by a bunch of bullets, I would recommend setting the shotgun into stun so that you can hold enemies like Devastators still, so you can sneak up on them to finish them off. And if you don't believe me, I fired 2 shots at this Automaton Rocketeer right there, and he still didn't die. Kinda reminds me of the M90. If you're ever in those constellations where there's a shit ton of berserkers, this is the shotgun for you. Moving over to the bug front, where it fares way better since every enemy is wide, not skinny. But sure, it will still struggle if you try to use it at a fair range, but utilizing something like stun rounds to have your teammates just clobber a charger to death is too funny. And this shotgun is a perfect support for your teammates, as you can just hold off the endless waves of enemies while they target them all. And it has no problem standing on its own 2 feet, being capable of taking out the Brood Commander's head in 2 good shots, which makes this shotgun even more deadly when you start reloading and firing it at the same time to constantly lay down a wall of Flechette rounds. which makes it a perfect counter against my favorite jump scare, the Stalker, as it cannot wail on you if it's too busy being stuck. On this front, I really can't complain about this shotgun. Against both the lesser chaff and the greater chaff, this shotgun does pretty damn well. Whether it be the Brood Commander, Hive Guard, or the Bile Spears, this weapon is fully capable of shutting down any enemy attacks that come your way. With the only thing you're really struggling against is the Shriekers, but that's because they fly out of the shotgun's range. Absolutely busted on the bug front. Moving over to the Illuminate front, the shotgun has no problem going up against the Voteless, but you have to keep in mind now you're going up against humanoid-shaped enemies with the chance of your shotgun shells going around them, which shouldn't be too much of a problem if you're using this shotgun in its effective range. But it shouldn't matter since the Voteless love the crowd into giant gang situations, which allows you to splash as many as you can. But if you utilize the shotgun's stun abilities, you really can set up some weapon combos, which is perfect for shutting up that flying starfish. But it is also a great way to set up a kill on something like an Overseer. You'll never have to worry about getting meleeed again by these giant Q-tips because all you need to do is stun and blast their head off, which makes these variants laughably easy. However, against the flying version, the elevated Overseer, it's kind of a bit more of a pain. Even though you stun them, they're still kind of floating around and you have to chase them down with the shotgun. If you're firing Flechette rounds, there's a good chance a lot of your rounds will miss and you'll have to sink like 8 bullets to kill the guy. I would recommend hitting them with the stun round and trying to kill them with something else, because sometimes if they break out of the stun lock, they'll just kind of fly away. And this is only a problem since they can sometimes sit out of your shotgun's effective range. So I would bring something else to deal with the flying guys. But it is a great counter against the grounded Overseers. But the stun rounds are perfect to use on something like the Flesh Mob, as it's really potent against them. Probably because they can fit in 3 different area codes, but the giant Flesh Mob makes it really easy to land a stun shot, holding this guy pretty still. If you break ahead while he's stunned, the Flesh Mob will only charge in the random direction that he is chosen, allowing you to still take him down while he's running around like an idiot. And this shotgun completely negates the threat of a Flesh Mob since you can hold them still and just finish them off with whatever you have in your pocket. I had an HMG in my pocket, what do you have? Even when I find myself in situations with more Voteless than I do have ammo, I just set them up with a bunch of stun and hit them with an orbital strike, because this is just too good for plotting. But that is the end of my video. Let me know what you guys personally think about the Halt down below in the comments, and I will see you guys later. And don't forget to wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, yeah.